We are going to go over a really important and hot topic, right, Amanda?
Absolutely. Very exciting. I know we just presented this on Tuesday night, a whole webinar, and we thought talking about test optional and really determining, whichever colleges you're interested in, um, are they test optional really, or are they really looking for test scores? And we did a great presentation. We'll put that down below if you want to watch the whole thing, but we're just going to do a snapshot today to keep it under our 15 minutes. We wanted just to talk about with Yale just came out, Dartmouth just came out with saying, you know what, let's be more transparent. In the end, that's what they're doing, right? They've always, even though they've said test optional, they're being more transparent that they want to put more weight back onto the ACT, SAT test. And so with those two big announcements, definitely a lot of conversations about schools going back to test scores. What does that mean? And so we just kind of want to break that down for everybody today. So let's do it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And it's also, I think, a lot of families and students, it's bringing up a lot of questions for them too. And one of the things we always continually suggest and advise to our families is to continue to prepare for these tests, because not just for admissions, but so many scholarship opportunities are tied directly to these test scores. And we went in detail over all of the different opportunities too that these test scores can bring. So still a really important component to the entire process. So so we were really just hoping to bring some more focus in on this really important topic. So
Absolutely. So as we all know, just to kind of set the landscape, obviously since COVID, everything kind of got upended and a lot of colleges said, oh, we do have test optional policies because it was really hard for a lot of our students to test throughout that COVID time. And at the time, it's been reported about 80% of colleges have some type of test optional policies. And it really varies between each school. What does that mean? So for example, Purdue University, they released that they are sort of test recommended, but when they released their recent admissions for early decision, 97% of students who got into Purdue had submitted and got in through test scores. So while they say test recommended, only 3%. And so, looking at, and some schools truly are what we call test blind. They don't even look at scores. And some are truly test optional, like it's kind of 50-50. So we're going to kind of just walk through that and how to sort of determine. But as Jessica said, it's really important because different admissions can be contingent, like maybe the term you're applying for, if you're early action, early decision, priority, that all makes a big difference. If you want an honors program, scholarships, as you said, and also quite a few majors. We're seeing more and more, especially in the STEM areas or a direct entry program, are saying that you do need to submit test scores. So if you are an engineer and like, oh, I don't need it, chances are you probably do at least for one or two of your schools for sure.
Exactly. And that brings up a really good point, is understanding your college list and understanding what they are really looking for is really a key component of this entire process. And that's why the next slide, we love utilizing the common data set. And this is a document that you can find on the internet, really for every college, almost every college who reports this data, but it will spell out to you what the college admissions office is really looking for. What are those key factors that they are looking for when they are reviewing applicants for the incoming class? And so this is a really important thing, I think, for all families to understand, recognize, and it's a great resource.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's not, unfortunately, it's not in one easy to find place. So to find the common data set, and it's really just institutional data, but there's tons of information about admissions by gender. Like in some of the STEM schools, it's actually more likely if you're a female to get in. They might have a higher acceptance rate because they need more females than males for applicants. and so things like that. It's got information like that. It's percentage of financial aid and their admissions criteria. There's such really great information
Mhm.
in there. So if
Mhm.
you're a data person like us, we do use it. But one of the data points that they have, it's under C9. So if you're to find it, just type in the college name. So if you want University of Florida, common data set, and then look for the most recent year. And usually it's under institutional research. And sometimes it's an Excel document, sometimes it's a PDF. But under a section called C9, they report out of the students that were not just applied, but were admitted and enrolled. So the true class at that college, how many of those students actually got in by using or submitting a test score? So here's a school that really touts their test optional opportunities, and they say it, and they have over about 70,000 applicants every year. But when you look at really who is enrolled and their class of students that were admitted, you are seeing almost 71% of students did come in with a test score. So when you
Mhm.
look at, this is a school that actually has about a 5-6% acceptance rate. So when you look at the number of students that actually get in, and you're already at a disadvantage because only 29% came in without a score, and then it's a low acceptance rate to begin with, that number is very, very, very small of kids that actually got
Mhm.
accepted enrolled with. But that tells us a good, like, how many students, right? So here, so that's where you would find that.
Yeah, exactly. And it also is a great tool to help students and families understand how to best prepare when they are creating and putting together their college applications, right? So, by building that college list early on, it's going to really help you kind of lay the groundwork and the foundation for being able to set yourself apart and be a good applicant for the schools on your college list. So, all of this information, that's why in college admissions, we're always like, start early, start early. And this is exactly why, because understanding the colleges, what's important to them, what they're looking for in a good applicant. Unfortunately, if you don't start early enough, you're going to miss out on some of those opportunities. So, yeah, this is a
Absolutely.
great tool. Mhm.
Absolutely. So one of the tools that we use is it's an Excel sheet, and it's completely free and available to you guys. If you're interested, we can definitely get it to you. It's through the makers of College Unmazed, and it's called the College Data Organizer. And it takes a lot of different information that colleges submit to an organization called iPads, and it really just puts it at the student's fingertips. So if you look at the red circles there, so that same statistic that I showed you in the common data set, using the college data organizer, it would populate that directly into that Excel sheet. So here's just an example. So University of Pennsylvania, right here, you can see it's percent submitting SAT scores, percent submitting ACT scores. So UPenn, for example, 79% acceptance or, submitted test scores and came in with test scores. Rice University, again, a little over about 75%. You can see, again, almost 75%. So this was an actual student that I was working with this past year in college advising. And so just kind of wanted to show you kind of across the board how you can, and you can go all the way across that line and see everybody's. To make it easier for you guys, I actually kind of created here, and UPenn, apologies, the ACT got mistyped. That should be a 28%, not an 8%. But you can see here, if this is your student, and on paper, except for the University of Florida, Florida is the only one that never went test optional. So you can see actually several students actually submitted both tests, ACT and the SAT, just to really give them that advantage at UF. All of these have test optional policies, right? So, in the student's profile and list, over 90% of the schools have said, yes, we were test optional. But when you look at this data and looking across, most of the schools that the student was looking at, anywhere from 70 to 100% of the students were submitting scores. I don't know about you, but I would rather my student be in the the wider percentage versus the lower. And she had just one here. I don't know if you can see, my head might be in the way. St. John's was the only one that was truly what I would consider test optional, because it was under, 20% of students actually submitted test scores. So if this was my list, you do need scores,
Mhm.
very much so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And what we've heard from admissions counselors, of course, is if a student doesn't submit the test score, then they're going to put that additional weight into other factors, right? Then they might be looking a little bit stronger at your GPA and or looking at how many higher level classes you took throughout your high school career. So they might count up how many honors classes you took or AP or dual enrollment and kind of put more weight there than if you had sent a score, that would probably help you. And so, again, this is a great activity and it's a great, I think, diagram to kind of show you how important they still are, right? No matter what the policy is. So,
Absolutely. So like if I was if obviously when you're working with students, we always say to try to get the highest score you possibly can. So still taking the test, seeing where you're scoring, using our self-paced, ACT and SAT prep, maybe taking a class, and then the last and kind of to really get you over the edge, the one-on-one tutoring. So trying and doing the best that you can is always the best goal to have, right? Once you have that score, then we make the decision looking at all of the information. And there might be some schools that you submit your scores to because you're above their traditional admission
mhm,
requirements. And there might be a few that, we know it might be a harder school to get into. And so maybe we don't submit or we do. But that's all the information that we look at to really make an informed decisions, not only for getting admissions, but then also scholarships and other programs
mhm,
like honors programs and so forth. And so it's a piece of the puzzle. It's not
mhm,
everything, but it definitely helps you make better decisions in
exactly.
applications.
Yeah, and it's all the strategy of kind of looking at and understanding again what the 50% range is for the schools that you want to get into as far as scores go. And another thing we always tell our students too is just preparing for a lot of different opportunities, because this is fluid. Like when we start working with freshmen and sophomores, their plan does sometimes change. Their college list does sometimes fluctuate before they become seniors and they're applying to colleges. So, again, just being able to have a wide path, starting early, setting yourself up for success no matter what opportunity or path you decide to take in the future.
Absolutely. So I just
Yeah.
think that this is really impactful and
Mhm.
powerful because it puts things into perspective. So we are
Mhm.
starting to see again that shift back to
Mhm.
utilizing test scores because they were finding that students that it would have helped their application were not submitting, the scores and they should have. It would have given that, like you
Exactly.
said, that extra piece of information to make a better, more informed decision
Exactly.
on the admission side. So really interesting. So we're continuing to obviously follow all of the colleges and all of these big decisions and how, and then to communicate that to our families, right? As we start
Mhm.
really gearing up for this next admission season already. So
Already.
already, I know we are in the
Already.
thick of things. And like I said, this webinar we did on Tuesday night, I mean, there was so much information. We really break down each test, the ACT, the digital SAT, and how each test to kind of which one to pick. And we talk about test scores and understanding that. And then we also went over how to develop a plan to make sure that you get the best test score possible. So
Yeah.
it was a lot of fun. We had a good
It was
time,
a
didn't
lot of fun. Yeah, we had a lot of great information and great questions too. So,
we?
for those of you interested, our next webinar is coming up on Tuesday night, and it's going to be on how to put your application together to really stand out. How can you put together a standout admissions application? So, that's Tuesday night at 8 o'clock, and we will put that in the chat here below on this post as well if you want to register for that. And then we have two more coming up in the series. One is on accommodations, transitioning into college, and then lastly, financial aid and scholarship.
Yeah.
So we will put the links for you guys to register if you're interested in joining us the next few Tuesday nights.
Lots of stuff going on for
Yeah.
sure. And remember, if you do get registered for that, you do get the recording as well. So definitely get on that. So you get all of that really great information coming your way. So I
Yeah.
think we've covered kind of the main thing we wanted to talk about today, Jessica. And any other things that we missed, do you think?
Not really. I do know March 9th is coming up pretty quickly for anyone taking the digital SAT. I know there's a lot of juniors out there taking it. So, again, just reminding you guys to be consistent in your study habits and it will pay off. So, again, be counting down those days, keeping that testing, in front of you all the time from now until then. So,
Absolutely. Well, everybody have a great weekend. It's great seeing everybody as always. And we'll be back next week. Happy Friday.
bye, guys.